What is up, everybody? Shwazy here, and in today's video I'm talking 3 features I wish I had when I ordered my Ford Bronco. Okay, so this video is intended for those of you that are looking to possibly place an order for a new Ford Bronco. Maybe you're looking at existing inventory, or perhaps you're searching for a used Ford Bronco and trying to figure out which features you can and can't live without. And that's what I'm going to be discussing today's video. I took delivery of this vehicle back in July of 2021, and it's been about 3 years and just shy of 30,000 miles that I've driven this vehicle around as my daily driver. And I wanted to share my deep down, honest experience with all of the features my vehicle had, and 3 features I wish I would have selected when I placed my order for this vehicle. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on this particular Ford Bronco, this is the 2021 Ford Bronco in the Big Bend trim level. And at the time, this was 1 step above the base trim. But as of, I believe, 2024, this is actually the entry-level trim level. However, they have added a couple more features to make it even a little bit more equipped than my particular vehicle. But it was the 4-door Big Bend with the 2.3-liter EcoBoost engine and the 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, I got it specifically in the 4-door trim level to make it a little bit more daily drivable, more usable. Now, in terms of other packages I got, this was still pretty bare bones. So I got the mid package, which is the Equipment Group 222A, and that included dual front climate control, heated seats, remote start, Ford Co-Pilot 360, and a power outlet in the second row. So I felt like I was going to spoil myself just a little bit to have some of those little creature comforts that you find on typical crossovers. But other than that, this was a pretty basic Big Bend trim. The other couple things I got on this one was the upgraded LED headlamps. It was a $795 option at the time. I also got auxiliary switches, which are located over here above the front row seats, where you can, wire in different items and then simply flip them on. That way you don't have to actually drill, holes inside of the dashboard or anything like that. Then obviously I had the sandstone interior, which I don't believe they offer that anymore. And then in the back, I actually got the towing package. So I've got the tow hitch receiver over here and all of the wiring. And I felt like that was a good add-on for just about $595. Other than that, there's really no other features here. And at the time of purchase, this vehicle was $42,050 after destination costs. Now, the reason I spec'd the vehicle the way that I did was twofold. The first reason is because I wanted to keep this Ford Bronco relatively affordable. Now, $42,000 is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is generally cheap compared to other Ford Broncos out there that are pushing $60,000. And so this vehicle was supposed to be my daily driver, my kind of reliable, cheap, quote-unquote, vehicle, because it was replacing a Toyota RAV4, which was my daily driver for the 3 years before I took delivery of this one. And so for that reason, I wanted to keep the price low, which meant I had to forego on some features that would have been nice to have, but definitely not need to have. And that's some of the features I'm going to be discussing today. Now, the second reason I spec'd this vehicle the way that I did was because, not sure if you heard, but back in 2021, there was something called the COVID pandemic. And believe it or not, there were a lot of supply shortages as a result of this pandemic. And the Ford Bronco came out at the height of the COVID pandemic, and for that reason, it was impacted by these supply shortages. The biggest one being the hardtop. And at the time of taking the reservation in July of 2020, we really didn't know much about this vehicle. And so you kind of just placed a reservation for a particular trim level, but you were going to spec out the actual one you were going to buy later on into the following year. And so when February of 2021 arrived, when I actually placed the order for this particular vehicle at my Ford dealership, I was able to see the full option list for the Ford Bronco. And in February of 2021, we were already well aware that the hardtop was going to be a pretty constrained supply shortage. There were issues with the way it fit together. There were issues with the supplier that Ford was using to purchase or to make these hardtops. So I had a feeling this would cause a pretty major delay in me taking delivery of this vehicle. Now, if you guys aren't aware, I am an online automotive content creator, and being one of the early ones to take delivery of a vehicle and show off the features and make videos about it is very crucial for success of a channel. So for that reason, I needed to make sure I was one of the early order takers and delivery takers of this particular vehicle, because it would allow me to make more content quicker and get it uploaded faster than some of the other channel media outlets out there. Now, one thing that was going against me was I didn't place my reservation on day one when reservations opened for the Bronco in July of 2020. I waited about a week, and so I was already behind in line. And so I knew I needed to keep the trim option list low to be able to take delivery quicker. Now, the second shortage that was really plaguing this vehicle was the Sasquatch Package. It was about a $5,000 or $6,000 option at the time. It's gone up since then, of course, but that added the beadlock capable wheels and tires, the front and rear locking differential. You got the increased ground clearance, the Bilstein suspension, the underbody skid plate protection. So lots of goodies, but that was also going to cause major delays in taking delivery of a vehicle. In fact, some people who were day one reservation holders took about a year later than me to take delivery of their vehicle because it had the Sasquatch Package and because of the hardtop. So that was the second reason why I decided to keep the option list pretty low. But because of that, there are some regrets. And let's start with the first one in no particular order. Now, the first option I would get if I were speccing a new Bronco in 2024 or searching for used inventory would be a hardtop roof. Now, if you guys have seen my other videos, I've raved about this soft top roof. In fact, this is one of my biggest selling points for this vehicle because unlike the Wrangler, you don't have any type of crossbar above the passenger and driver seat, so you have this huge open air experience. It really feels like you're in a Disneyland ride when you're just driving through the forest or off-roading and you just hear the sound of the tires, and it's just a truly incredible experience. This is the best part of this vehicle, hands down. Now, the reason I would say get the hardtop is because of a couple reasons. For one, to order a hardtop now for my particular vehicle, it's about a $5,000 option. In fact, last I checked on Ford's configurator, they're limiting the amount that they're releasing. I think it's like one per customer and you still have to wait for it. Now, there are some aftermarket companies that are doing hardtops, but it's the same price. It's $5,000. And brand new, when I was speccing this car, I think it was like an $1,800 or a $2,000 option. So you definitely be saving money if you get the hardtop versus going in the aftermarket. The second reason I would get the hardtop is because it would generally be a little bit quieter on the inside. I've made videos about this in the past, but it's quite loud when you have this soft top roof in its closed position because you have a lot of wind noise coming in through the top. You also have, this whole section is soft top, so you're gonna have a lot of wind noise over here. It's not a perfect seal down at the bottom either. Now, I've never gotten water inside, despite this being a little bit of a lip here, but it does allow a lot of air in, and so a lot of sound kind of pipes into the cabin. And then the third reason why I would get the hardtop is to have better access into this trunk area. So opening this up, as you can see right now, the only way I can get more access into the trunk is by lifting up these flaps on the left and the right hand side, and then it will crease this little back window to give you a little bit of greater access. However, if you get the hardtop, you got this big window over here that will open up and give you large access into the trunk. So it allows for larger or taller objects to be placed in there. You also have a rear windshield wiper, and you also have the wiring for a rear windshield wiper. My particular vehicle doesn't actually come with the wiring for a rear windshield wiper, so even if I was able to spec a hardtop and get it in the aftermarket, I still wouldn't have that. The reason mine doesn't have it is because it's too early of a build. I believe starting in fall of 2021, every single soft top came with the wiring, so that if you did opt for a hardtop in the future, you would have a windshield wiper in the back. But mine, I would have to actually physically wire to the front if I wanted a windshield wiper. So those are three reasons why I would get the hardtop. Now, in all honesty, the hardtop isn't that much quieter than the soft top. I've driven in one at the off-rodeo. It's definitely not as quiet as your typical crossover like a Jeep Grand Cherokee or anything like that, but it is a little bit quieter than the soft top. I mean, if you have the soft top configuration and you're driving on the freeway, there's really no way to have a Bluetooth phone conversation with somebody. It gets way too loud. You have to very clearly enunciate, you have to speak really loud, and you have to turn the volume up all the way to be able to understand somebody. You don't have to necessarily do that as much if you got the hardtop. Now, if money was no option, I wouldn't just get the hardtop because personally, I love how easy it is to open up this soft top. You simply open up the flaps on the driver and passenger side, and you can open up the soft top standing at a stoplight. I've done that dozens of times. It's so easy to just open it up. Unlike the hardtop where you actually have to unhook the panels and either put them in the trunk or hide them in your garage, the soft top is much more convenient to get that open air experience. But if I got just the hardtop, then I would be missing out on that. Now, there is a solution to that. Ford offers a Sunrider for the first and second row exactly like it is on my soft top, but with everything else being a hardtop configuration. So you would still have the hardtop panels over here in the back, and on the trunk you would still have that glass. But for about $2,300, you can get this Sunrider soft top to allow you to simply just pop open those panels and open up the roof. That I think would be the best of both worlds. So it definitely wouldn't be as quiet as having a full hardtop, but it would be a little bit quieter than the full soft top, and you'd still have the convenience of being able to open up these panels and get that open air experience. That's how I would spec a new Ford Bronco if I was in the market for one. Now for the second feature I wish my vehicle came with, we're actually going to jump inside. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now the next feature I wish my vehicle came with is a larger touchscreen display. Now, this particular car comes with the 8-inch touchscreen, which is the smallest one you can get on any Ford Bronco, but there was an option for a larger 12-inch touchscreen. It actually wasn't available for the Big Bend trim level. I had to actually step up, I believe, 2 trim levels above this one to be able to get it, but it is a nice to have feature. So this 8-inch touchscreen is fine. In fact, I was coming from like a 6-inch touchscreen on my Toyota, so this was an improvement, and this was about the same size as the one I have in my Hellcat, which is about 8.8 inches. So it's very close, and it's a very good touchscreen. I mean, it reacts really quick. Everything works really well. There's really no issues with it. In fact, it also has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is not something every other vehicle has nowadays. Some of them are even wired and some of them don't even come with it. So it was ahead of its time back in 2021. But as of 2024, this screen is a little bit small for today's standards. And actually, it looks like Ford agrees with me, because starting in 2024 model year, I don't see a Big Bend coming with an 8-inch touchscreen. I think the standard size is now 12 inches. I think they've kind of realized that 8 inches is a little bit small, especially because the 2024 Wrangler now comes with a 12.3-inch touchscreen as standard on all trim levels as well. So I think they're trying to match the Wrangler in terms of what it's offering. But 8 inches is perfectly fine. It's just, it would be nice if it's a little bit larger. There's also one feature that used to come on the 12-inch touchscreen that I wish my vehicle came with, and that's really the main reason why I'd like to have a bigger touchscreen. Now, the feature that I'm talking about is a 360-degree camera. So if I put this vehicle in reverse, I have the federally mandated rear backup camera with, you know, the trajectory lines and the towing lines. They work really well. I like how the rear view camera works, and you can adjust how close it is, so you can zoom in to show off, you know, right below your trailer hitch receiver. So it's a very nice camera. I have no complaints with it. I mean, it could be a little bit better quality, but really not bad. You could still see objects in here. But when I went to the Bronco Off-Rodeo, I drove a vehicle with the 12-inch touchscreen that also came with the 360-degree camera. So back when I spec'd this vehicle, if you got the 12-inch touchscreen, it would automatically give you that 360 camera. And honestly, I don't really have a problem with the angles down here or parking this vehicle or anything like that. Everything there is perfectly normal without having a 360 cam. But the one scenario where it was really nice is when you're off-roading. So when you're going up a big hill, you really have no idea what's going on in front of this hood. It's such a big hood, you can definitely tell where the edges are, but you have no idea if after this, you know, big climb, there's going to be a cliff or a drop off or some sort of obstacle. And that's where the 360 camera comes in really handy. And that way you can see exactly what's going on without actually having to get out of the vehicle and see what's going on, because it's not always easy to get out of the car, especially when you're on a steep incline. I've had a hard time being able to get out of this vehicle to see what's happening in front of the car. And I also don't want to keep driving because it could be dangerous. There could be something out there that I'm really not seeing. And when you're not going with somebody else on an off-road trail, it's nice to have that feature. Now, I realize that when you have the 360 camera, everything is two-dimensional, so you can't really see how tall an object is, but it still gives you a good idea of what's going on in front of you, and that way you can kind of evaluate a little bit better than going in blind and just looking at the hood. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody will in the comments, but I believe the 2024 Big Bend that comes standard with the 12-inch touchscreen doesn't have the 360-degree camera. I believe that comes on the high package, which is available on the higher trim levels. So starting in 2024, it's a little bit more confusing. You don't default to the 360 cam with the 12-inch touchscreen. But if you're looking at a used one, if you find the 12-inch touchscreen, it's going to come with that 360 camera. And it's very handy if you take this vehicle off-roading. Now, the last nice-to-have feature that I wish my vehicle came with is the Sasquatch Package. Now, if you guys haven't followed along with the channel for a while, you might be a little confused because it looks like this vehicle comes with the Sasquatch Package. You have the beefier tires with the beadlock capable rims. It also looks like I have the Bilstein suspension right off of a Sasquatch. So what gives? Why am I saying that I need the Sasquatch Package? Well, that's because I actually took delivery of this vehicle without the Sasquatch Package and have slowly upgraded it over time. So my vehicle came with the 32.5-inch carbonized gray wheels that come on the Big Bend package. And I happened to find the takeoffs from a Sasquatch Package from an individual that had upgraded theirs to 37-inch tires and a beefier suspension. So I actually purchased all 4 wheels and tires and the suspension right off of that vehicle and I had upgraded mine to have that same suspension. So mine's like a half Sasquatch. It doesn't have the front and the rear locker. It doesn't have any underbody protection. In fact, its fender flares are the narrower fender flares, because if you got the Sasquatch package, you'd get the wider fender flares and a different bumper. So it's a little bit interesting. To the common person, it's going to look like I have it, but I really don't. And the reason I would say get it is because I have looked into upgrading my vehicle to get all of the things that the Sasquatch package comes with, like the front and rear locker, like the bumpers, like the underbody protection. And if you add up everything that costs, including installation, along with how much I paid for these wheels and tires, it's going to come out more expensive than just getting it straight from the factory. And that's even accounting for the increased pricing as of 2024. I believe the 2023 model year, it was about a $5,500 or $6,000 option. As of 2024, using today's builder, it's about a $7,500 option on top of the price of the vehicle if it was spec'd the exact same way mine was when it was brand new. I'm talking mid-package, upgraded LED headlights, the towing package. It's still a $7,500 option. And even still, it would be more affordable to do that than to get all of this in the aftermarket, especially if you're trying to stick to OEM parts. Now, if I went to aftermarket, yeah, it probably would be a very similar price. However, going from the factory, not only do you have the benefit of it coming out of the gate with all of those features, so you can take it off-roading the very next day, but it's also warranted by the factory. So honestly, if you have the money and you want to have the Sasquatch package, just pay for it up front because it's going to be worth it than trying to get it done later. And honestly, your resale values are going to be higher if you have the Sasquatch package because it's like having a Rubicon Wrangler. It's just a little bit of a higher status than a non-Sasquatch version. Now, I did say one of the reasons why I didn't order it is because I didn't think I was going to get it in time, but the second reason is because I didn't know how much extreme off-roading I would do. In fact, my 32-inch Big Bend Bronco with the all-terrain tires was capable of 100% of any trail I ever took this vehicle on. Honestly, it's more of just a peace of mind. I would like to know that I have front and rear lockers in case I ever get into a situation where I need them. It's also nice to have these mud terrain tires to have a little bit extra grip and higher ground clearance so that I feel more confident. But I never actually got stuck in the 32-inch Bronco. These vehicles are more than capable than the majority of places people are going to take them, but just knowing that you can take it into more extreme situations would be nice to have. Now, I will also mention that at the time of ordering this vehicle, there was an option, and there still is today, for about $500 in 2021 dollars, I believe it's about $800 in 2024 dollars, you can get a rear locker on a Big Bend Bronco without having to get the Sasquatch package. And again, that is worth it. I've done the calculations on how much it would cost in the aftermarket, and it's about $2,000 here locally to be able to do that. So that is another feature that I actually missed out on. I didn't even realize that I didn't check mark it, and unfortunately I wasn't able to do it later. But if you just want to have a rear locker, then just pay for that option and keep the non-Sasquatch version. Save a little bit of money, but still have a little bit of added capability. Now, the last thing I'll mention about the Sasquatch package, when I went to the Bronco off-roadie, the vehicle I was driving, can't really remember the trim level. It had the 12-inch touchscreen, it had the Sasquatch package, and on 95% of the trails we went on, I attempted to not use the front or rear locker. And I was able to succeed and conquer every single trail without actually having to activate those. That is how capable this vehicle is, even if you don't have the Sasquatch package. Now, I was aided by the fact that I had the higher ground clearance and the more aggressive tires, but just doing what I did on this vehicle is still extremely capable. So don't get me wrong, you don't need the Sasquatch package. And I witnessed this firsthand at the off-rodeo when there were some pretty extreme trails. If you guys have taken the off-rodeo before and you're not a professional off-roader, they do test the limits of this vehicle. We even went into water. I think that was the only time I actually turned on the locker is when we were going into kind of some water fording situations and I wanted to make sure I had good traction. But other than that, conquering some big rocks or some big hills, I didn't actually activate it because I knew my vehicle didn't have it. I want to see if it's even capable of doing it. And it passed with flying colors. So take that for what it's worth. You don't need to have it. These are just some nice to have features if you really are thinking about taking your Bronco to the limits. Well, there you have it, folks. Those were 3 features I wish I had purchased on my Ford Bronco. However, even if you don't get these features, you're going to be very satisfied with this car. Even the base Big Bend trim level, which as of 2024 is the entry-level trim, they no longer have the base trim level, it's going to be more than capable for 90 to 95% of people out there. And if you guys are those that take your vehicle to the limits, then you can upgrade and get some of these additional features for better off-road capability. But you really don't need it. It's a fantastic car. It looks great. Even being 3 years old, people still turn their heads, ask questions about it. Now, if you guys are interested in more videos on this Ford Bronco, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out all the older videos I've made on this particular vehicle under the My Car playlist. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button and check me out on all the social media at Schwazy_. Now, until next time, everybody, I hope you stay Schwazy, stay healthy, have a wonderful day.